You create your own reality. That is a phrase you will hear a lot in this space of inner work, emotional processing, new agey stuff, right? Business, right? It can be kind of used in all sorts of contexts. And it's one of those phrases that I believe and have experienced with a lot of people can either be empowering or very self-destructive. It can be a form of blaming yourself and almost a cycle of doom and abuse of like, oh my God, I'm creating this. I made this situation. It's my fault. And now I'm making it worse. And I can't turn my thinking around and I can't feel the right emotions. And so it's getting even worse and it's my fault, right? You might need to be rescued out of that at times. So for me, the subject matter here is whether or not this idea is helpful and empowering to you or causing you suffering. Because ultimately, regardless of whatever absolute truth there might be, which I do not claim to have authority on how this all works, right? How is that idea affecting you in your inner world? And what do we need to do to help? So the first thing I would check to explore is just observe briefly even what your definition of I create my own reality actually means. And does it hold up to a little bit of a further examination? Does it mean that, the thoughts that me, Evan, is thinking are literally responsible for the weather today? And if my house is blown up in a hurricane, it's like, oh, Evan should have thought of his house not being destroyed and shouldn't have, had his mind wandering when he was just staring at Facebook or something, right? It sounds kind of superficial, but sometimes we are thinking about you create your own reality in a pretty superficial way. It's like turned into a thing about whether I get a car or not, right? Versus like, wait, what am I actually implying here? What are the dynamics? Am I affecting every event that happens and how it affects and natural disasters and what happens to my body? Right? So just taking a moment to see, okay, what do I actually think about this? And then notice, does this create an underlying anxiety in me? And it might be subtle, but it might be very strong. And again, I've worked with people who are in just a spiral of this. And sometimes it's a little bit under the hood. It's a little unconscious because it's like, well, yeah, I've unconsciously adopted this model that my own thoughts and feelings, like everything that happens is my fault now. And perhaps I'm perfectionist. Perhaps there's some programming around it. Oh, it's my fault. If you're feeling this right now, start tapping, take a couple breaths, right? Become aware of this and the enormous pressure and anxiety that might be running under the surface. I have to manage my thoughts at all times. I have to manage my feelings. I am manifesting good or bad things all the time. Oh my God, this is so much, right? That is an enormous amount of pressure. And I invite you to relax that if that's how these ideas are actually resonating for you, perhaps in a previously unconscious level. And some things that might help, some places you can explore, are a lot of teachings and techniques, including many of my favorites, that suggest, okay, even if there is an element to what's going on within me influencing my environment or how I experience the external or the seeming external world, that perhaps it's not about me micromanaging every thought and holding on and trying to control every thought and feeling, but to actually relax into a bigger intelligence than just, again, what did Evan eat for breakfast and what is he thinking about? And that's why there was this disaster. But a greater intelligence, perhaps, that might be able to be relaxed into, and that might, even if there is a relationship here between the thoughts, feelings, emotions, and what I'm experiencing, that there might be a much gentler, much more peaceful way to interact and explore that premise and take it on for checking and see if I can relax into something that might have a deeper flow to it than me with my own mind trying to manage my mind. So it's one direction you can go in. Now, the other thing to explore is if this idea of, my thoughts, my feelings, what's happening in my body, mind, nervous system, there's some interaction between that and the experience of the world, or perhaps even the events that are happening. If that is intriguing, if that is empowering, like, that means there's a point of leverage here, then I think it's great to lean into it. It can be powerful. I heard Eckhart Tolle recently say, as a practice, for example, and I like to think of it that way, it's a practice you can choose to take on. So this is happening to me, it's happening to my body, something's going on with my health, there's a financial crisis, a natural disaster. Take it on as though you chose it. So it's not necessarily self-blame. You're not getting into philosophy about it. It's like, okay, take this on as though I'm choosing it. That can put your mind in a certain direction. Like, okay, in that case, what would I need to do about this? What could I learn from this? Your mind can be oriented in a way that can be a little bit more solution-oriented, less self-blame, less helplessness, right? Taking this on as though I would choose it. Why on earth would any human choose this? It can get into some spiritual implications too. Well, what is the point of my life? Is there a type of spiritual growth that goes beyond everything just being perfect and just having, a completely perfect body, just money flowing in for the rest of my life, and then I just ascend into perfection, right? Something to consider. And also, again, if the idea is intriguing and empowering, you can start to explore, what in my thinking or feeling might be contributing to this. And it can create a very positive momentum. And there's teachers I like that take on that practice. Lester Levinson, it's a big thing in that type of releasing approach, and exploring. This is happening. Let me examine my thinking. But again, if that feels like a tool, if that feels powerful and not a doom spiral. So that's my thought on exploring that. I'm curious your thoughts, if this is helpful to give you a point of entry. And in either direction, I find there can be a certain time in your life where it might be empowering to explore it, and then something else happens and it's brutal and it's painful, and to introduce, well, how did I create this, just feels cruel and abusive and not helpful in the moment, then you can relax it. There's no reason to beat yourself up. It's what helps you move in a positive direction, in my opinion at least, but I'm curious what yours is. All right, hope it helps, and hope to talk to you soon. Thanks so much.